Greetings once again. This is a more patient video. This is Verbal Antidote channel. Fair use. This is the Verbal Antidote channel. This is the more patient and comedic video of the invasion of Rafah. I think it's northern border. Innocent family killed in this week. Alright? It's sad. Even when the truth still is at work. Alright? Here we go.
Well, 24 hours ago, Palestinians were celebrating the news that Hamas had accepted what they thought was Israel's ceasefire proposal. Now their situation looks bleak again after Israeli troops seized the Rafah border crossing, cutting off a vital aid route into Gaza. Yesterday, the Israel Defense Forces ordered people in eastern Rafah to move to what they called an expanded humanitarian zone in al-Mawasi, ahead of a limited ground invasion. After striking targets in eastern Rafah overnight, Israel announced its troops had taken control of the Gaza side of the Rafah crossing, the only one it did not control. Israel has also imposed a naval blockade on Gaza for years. The UN says the shutting of the two southern crossings starved Gaza of the scant humanitarian aid it had been receiving, as very little is getting through the recently reopened Erez crossing. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Warwick O'Brien reports.
The Gaza side of the Rafah crossing into Egypt, a way in for aid, a way out for some trying to flee. Now deserted, apart from Israeli tanks and giant flags. The IDF say they are now in full operational control on this side of the crossing and that they had targeted, quote, terrorist infrastructure, including tunnels used by Hamas to bring in weaponry. For one tank driver, though, all infrastructure here seemed fair game. This just a day after yesterday's surprise announcement by Hamas said they'd accept a deal on a ceasefire and hostage release brokered by Egypt and Qatar. This afternoon, Benjamin Netanyahu described that as a ruse to wrong-foot Israel.
The entrance to Rafah serves two main war goals: the return of our hostages and the elimination of Hamas. We have already proven in the previous release of the abductees, military pressure on Hamas is a necessary condition for the return of our hostages. The Hamas proposal yesterday was intended to torpedo the entry of our forces into Rafah. It did not happen.
The Israelis say Hamas have not yet met several of their requirements around hostage release. The sticking points include issues around how many hostages are released, how often, and in what order the bodies of dead hostages should be handed over. Another hurdle: would Israel be able to veto the release of Palestinian prisoners who've committed more serious crimes? Yesterday, the Israelis warned people to leave Rafah and head to places like al-Mawasi on the coast. From there, they watched Rafah being targeted again and again. Last night, at least 20 people were killed in strikes on the city, including members of this man's family.
My wife, my two brothers, my sister and niece were martyred. That's what happened to us. We did nothing. We were sleeping peacefully. We're not wanted people. We're not Hamas. I'm a labourer working in construction.
Israel said it had killed 20 Hamas fighters and destroyed a number of tunnels overnight. International leaders, including Joe Biden, have scrambled to dissuade Benjamin Netanyahu from ordering a full-scale invasion of Rafah without a plan to protect civilians. The Israelis describe the latest offensive there as a limited operation. On one side of the Rafah crossing, then the tanks. On the other, mile after mile of now completely stationary aid, and the UN appeal to
aid.
Rafah is the epicenter of humanitarian operations in Gaza. Attacking Rafah will further attend our efforts to support people in dire humanitarian straits as famine looms.
The questions now, how limited will the Rafah offensive turn out to be? Will ceasefire talks become lost?
It's not going to be limited.
And if you're one of Rafah's 1.4 million displaced, how many more times
Not to be
will
trusted.
I move?
Well, here in Hostage Square, they gather to think of those still held by Hamas. But just a few minutes away, there is a much angrier protest going on where the families of some hostages are joining other Israelis to call for Prime Minister Netanyahu to accept the deal and quit. I went to speak to some of them earlier.
This is my son, Mahmoud, 19 years old, going to 20, was kidnapped on the morning of the 7th of October.
And you want Netanyahu to take the deal?
We want Netanyahu to take the deal. We want Netanyahu to take any deal. We want Netanyahu to declare ceasefire in return of all the hostages.
Why do you think they stopped it?
They didn't even begin it. Our government, our horrible government, doesn't want to go for a deal. They want
Y'all
to
see that?
show a picture of victory. There's
Yep.
no victory.
Every day that passes, another hostage is dead, actually. That is the actual truth.
So do the deal.
We need a deal, and we need it now. And yesterday, Hamas accepted the deal that